Justin Waters answered his phone when it vibrated, revealing a message from her husband, Tom. Tom had been on a business trip for the past few days. She unlocked her phone and read the message, "Business here is wrapped up, I'm back now. Dinner reservation at Mario's at 7 p.m. tonight. See you there. Happy anniversary." There were no sweet words or emojis, which didn't surprise her. For some reason, Tom hadn't been very sociable lately. She replied, "Happy anniversary, love you," then placed the phone on the nightstand, hoping for a reply, any response that might make everything better. But no reply came. Justin glanced at her watch, realizing she had enough time to freshen up before meeting her husband. She sighed, got out of bed, and headed to the bathroom for a shower. "Who was that?" asked Jack Carter, who had been spending the past few hours with her. "My husband," Justin replied. "He's back and he's made a dinner reservation at Mario's for us. Tonight's our 5th anniversary." "Your 5th anniversary, huh?" Jack remarked. "I thought you said he was in the East." "Yes, he was," Justin said. "Apparently, he wrapped up everything early. I need to call my mom to see if she can watch little Jacob for a bit longer." "All right, back to bed then," Jack said with a grin. "Maybe we can give Tom a little anniversary present." Justin snorted. "I'd love to, but I really need to clean up a bit, and time is short," she said. "Luckily, I have some clean clothes to wear here." "You wouldn't want me to wear what I have here to meet my husband. They're wrinkled and stained. Do you think he knows about us?" Justin shook her head. "No, I don't think so. He's been so busy lately, dealing with everything. He rarely talks to me, and he almost never does anything with the baby. It feels like he's in another world." "How long do you plan to keep him?" Jack asked. Justin shrugged. "Hard to say. He's a good provider, and I know he'd be a good father if he tried." "Do you think he knows Jacob isn't his?" "If he does, he hasn't said anything. I can't imagine him knowing and not telling me." "Well, if you need anything, I'll be here," Jack said with a smile, glancing down at his now limp member. "Want to warm up for a bit?" "You're right, baby," he replied with a smile. Justin walked over to the wardrobe and took out a clean dress. She couldn't believe she had so many clothes here instead of sharing a wardrobe with her husband. Justin looked at the dress she picked, trying to recall if Tom had seen it. It was blue, about 3 inches above the knee, with a rather deep and alluring neckline. She was pretty sure Tom hadn't seen this dress, and if he had, she'd just tell him she recently bought it. After calling her mother, Justin walked into the bathroom and enjoyed a hot shower. After the shower, she brushed her long hair until it was to her satisfaction, then dressed, applied makeup, and ensured she looked and smelled good enough to pass Tom's scrutiny. She kissed Jack and bid him good night. "See you tomorrow?" he asked, looking her up and down. "Of course, darling, but tonight I have plans," she said, picking up her purse and casually walking out of the room. Tom Waters took a drag from his cigarette as he sat in the Cadillac parked across the street from Mario's. He had just received a message from one of the private investigators he employed, saying that Justin had just left Jack Carter's luxurious apartment, where she had been his lover for the past year and a half. He looked at the picture the detective sent of Justin wearing a blue dress, one he had never seen before, and he wasn't surprised. Justin was right about one thing: Tom had gone to the East but had returned a day early. He had been explicitly informed about a severe security breach that needed immediate attention. If he didn't handle it, they would. They being a federal agency that the public wasn't even allowed to know existed. Tom remembered how nervous he had been sitting in the office of the one-eyed man, known only by the codename Alpha One. Only a few people were permitted to know this man's real name, and Tom wasn't on that list. "You have a serious problem, Waters," the man said, moving his head slightly, reminding Tom of the actor who once played Moses. "When you have a problem, we all have a problem. Solve that problem, quietly, or I will." "Yes, sir," Tom said, knowing it was the only acceptable answer to Alpha One. He also knew Alpha One wouldn't hesitate to make people disappear, having heard stories about how Alpha Odin had once destroyed an entire beach estate and everyone inside it. The thought made Tom shudder. Justin thought Tom was merely a famous salesman, traveling around to sell his security systems to various companies. But Tom was much more than that. While he did sell and oversee the installation of security equipment, he wasn't just a salesman. He installed equipment with special circuits that allowed Alpha 1 surveillance personnel to monitor almost everything the companies did, their clients, how they handled profits, everything. Tom knew the problem Alpha referred to as his wife, Justin, his wife of 5 years. At least until today, she had been having a torrid affair with Jack Carter, a senior partner at a law firm, for the past year and a half. Justin was a legal assistant at that firm. Tom had only recently learned all the details, mainly because he spent so much time on the road, but he had noticed something was amiss between them for a while. When he learned the details of the affair, Justin announced she was pregnant. Lawyer Thompson told him that no judge in the state would consider a divorce while Justin was pregnant. If the child was his, he would have to pay child support, regardless of their prenuptial agreement. Unless he didn't have to worry about the house he owned before marriage. Tom gritted his teeth and kept silent throughout the pregnancy. When she named the boy Jacob after his sperm donor, he almost lost it. As soon as the child was born, Tom had a DNA test done, and he wasn't surprised to find out the boy wasn't his. Checking his watch, Tom realized Justin would arrive soon. He saw a man in a khaki coat standing at the entrance of Mario's with a woman carrying a briefcase, knowing they were there for him. He drove across the street, parked, picked up his briefcase, and walked to the front door. He nodded slightly to the two at the door, whispered a few words to the woman, and quickly sat in a corner booth. The man in the khaki coat and the woman sat in another booth, close enough to overhear. Tom thanked the waiter for the water and started looking at the menu. He noticed Justin arriving at the table, setting her menu aside as he stood up, saying, "Good evening, Justin. You look nice tonight." "Thank you, Tom," she smiled. "I don't remember seeing this dress before." "Is it new?" "Yes, I just bought it." "Do you like it?" "Yes, it really brings out your eyes," he said with a faint smile. After ordering, they heard music coming from the other side of the restaurant. Mario's not only served dinner but also had a dance floor and a cocktail bar. "Sounds like they're playing our song," Justin said, signaling she wanted to dance. Let it be, he thought, even if it was their last anniversary. "Would you like to dance?" he asked, standing up. "I wouldn't mind," Justin said, extending her hand. Tom took her hand and led her to the dance floor. They danced in each other's arms, but Justin couldn't help noticing Tom kept a distance, almost unwilling to touch her. When the song ended, Tom led her back to the booth, where their food had already been served, and they began to eat. "Tom, is something wrong?" Justin asked. "You seem so distant." "It's our anniversary." "Yes," Tom said. "The problem is, your dress smells like it's been hanging in Jack Carter's closet for a long time, and no matter how hard you try, you can't completely get rid of his scent." "What?" Justin asked, feeling offended by Tom's words. "Jack Carter, you remember him?" she asked, trying to change the subject. "Yes, you know Jack Carter, he's a senior partner at the law firm you work at," Tom said as if nothing had happened. "Of course, I know," Justin said sarcastically. "I hope so," Tom said. "After all, you've spent enough time in his bed, and he's Jacob's sperm donor." "What are you talking about? This is ridiculous. I don't want to sit here and listen to you talk to me like this," she said angrily. "Actually, sit down," Tom said, opening his briefcase. "You're going to sit there and absorb all the information I've decided to give you, especially after what you've done in the past 16 months. I don't know what you're talking about." "You know, let's start with this," he said, placing a piece of paper in front of her. "What's this?" "This is a DNA test of your child, proving that Jacob isn't my son. The next one is another DNA test proving the sperm donor is none other than your lover, Jack Carter, whom you named Jacob Edward." "How did you get Jack's DNA?" she asked, confused. "Easy, you bring it home at least every Wednesday night." "But that's not all," he took out a thick folder and threw it on the table. "What's this?" "Every email, text message, and letter between you and Jack over the past 16 months. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but online privacy doesn't really exist. Okay, I admit, she said, I had an affair with Jack, but that's it. It was just sex, nothing more. Really, nothing more? Turn to page 75 and find the part 1 highlighted. Tell me what you see. She turned to the page Tom mentioned, her face turning pale as she read the words she had written to Jack. I'm waiting. I want you to read it out loud. She swallowed, glanced at the page again. Please, don't make me do this. You either read it, or I will, and if I do, I don't care who hears. Tears streamed down her face as Justin looked at the paper and began to read the words Tom had highlighted. I love everything you do to me, Jack. In the past 16 months, I've never felt such wonderful satisfaction. I can't wait for you to give me another baby. We've been married for so long, and I don't remember you ever speaking to me like that, Tom said. Is that all you have? No, I have photos, recordings, and videos, hours of videos. You must really hate me, Justin said softly. Yes, I do, he said, his words like a slap, shocking her. There was a time when he would have taken a bullet for her. How long have you known? I suspected for a long time, even before you told me you were pregnant. I did some investigating and gathered enough evidence to satisfy the prenuptial agreement. However, when I told the lawyer, you already told me you were pregnant. The lawyer made it clear that no judge would consider a divorce until you gave birth, and I'd have to pay child support. But now that Jacob is born, I have enough evidence to do my thing, so I'm filing for divorce on the grounds of adultery. Tom pointed to the two people at the next table, who stood up and walked over to their table. This gentleman has something for you. Miss Justin Waters? Yes, Justin said softly. The man placed a heavy paper envelope in front of her. You've been served. Served? Justin asked, her face wet with tears. Yes, Tom said, handing her a pen, the divorce papers, exactly as stated in our prenuptial agreement. Sign them now, and I'll give you a check for $2,145.63, the exact amount you had when we got married. Don't ask for anything else. I already know about your secret little stash. You can keep it, and all your belongings have been sent to your mother's house. Yes, she knows, and she's very disappointed in you, but she agreed to let you stay with her until you find your own place, mainly for the child, not for you. But I don't want a divorce, Justin said. Yes, love you. Please, Justin, don't insult my intelligence. Listen to this. He took out his phone and played the conversation she had with Jack earlier that day. Her eyes widened as she heard her voice coming from Tom's phone. How did you get that? I'd tell you, but then I'd really have to kill you on the spot. Even though I hate you now, I still think it's wrong to deprive little Jacob of his mother, Tom said with a smile devoid of warmth. To you, I'm just a meal ticket and a guardian, while your baby daddy gets all the benefits. You know what? Your ticket has been punched, and at least from my end, there are no more free meals. What about Jack? She asked. Worried about Daddy? Tom asked sarcastically. Fortunately, our state allows lawsuits for alienation of affection. He's being served too, and there may be some things happening, but the principle is important, isn't it? Anyway, his problems are just beginning. You see, today I spoke with your managing partner, Hamilton Parker, showed him my evidence, and expressed my displeasure at knowing a senior partner was having an affair with a subordinate, especially when that subordinate is my wife, at least for now. Mr. Parker was very distressed and concerned about the unwanted attention Mr. Carter's actions could bring to the firm, not to mention the considerable financial burden. He agreed it was best for Mr. Carter to no longer be associated with the firm and assured me he would discuss the matter with the board tonight. He also agreed that you shouldn't be punished, especially as a new mother. After all, Mr. Carter was your boss, and I can say he doesn't want the firm to face potential sexual harassment lawsuits. Considering your work history there, he agreed it's best to keep you employed temporarily, but I assure you, Mr. Carter's problems are just beginning. Tom, how much do you know about your lover? I mean, really know? What do you mean? Justin asked. I mean his clients, The people he does business with, who he really represents, what he does when he's not in bed with you. Do you know any of that? I don't know. He never talks to me about those things. Maybe that's a good thing. Let me tell you, your Jack Carter has a very interesting client base, attracting the attention of certain federal agencies that can make someone disappear without a trace. You know what I'm talking about. You're scaring me, Tom. You should be scared, he said. Are you scared enough to stay away from Jack Carter? Because he's going to be in big trouble, and if you're around when it happens, you'll be in trouble too. Who are you, Tom? Really? He smiled and nodded at the documents in front of her. Sign these papers, Justin, and let's stop the nonsense. I may have already told you too much. By the way, your credit cards have been canceled, your house keys no longer work. I changed the locks today while you were with Jack. I also handled the bank accounts, so you no longer have access. Considering you've been stashing away half your income into your secret account, this shouldn't be a problem for you. You know everything, don't you? She asked. Tom shrugged, conceding the point. Justin looked through the divorce papers, finding them exactly as Tom had described. She signed them and handed the pen back to Tom. He smiled, taking the pen and carefully examining the documents. The service agents witnessed the signatures, and the woman who had notarized them took the documents. Tom handed them to the agent. I'll make sure these get to your lawyer, Mr. Waters, the agent said. Thank you, Tom said. After they left, Tom turned back to Justin. I believe you should return the ring to me. Do I have to? I love those rings, she cried. Obviously not enough, or you wouldn't have slept with Jack Carter. Tears streaming down her face, Justin took off the rings and placed them on the table. Tom pocketed them, then turned back to her. I believe our business is concluded. Is that your conclusion? You just want to say these things? What more is there to say? Tom asked. Why? Why are you doing this on our anniversary? She asked, tears continuously falling. Do you know how humiliating it is for me? Do you know how humiliating it is to find out you've been betraying me? To find out Jacob isn't my son? To know you slept with Carter on our anniversary? Don't talk to me about this, Tom said. We're done. Goodbye, Justin. I never want to see you again. After saying this, he returned to his food, not looking at Justin, who was wiping her face. Goodbye, Justin. I never want to see you again. After saying this, he returned to his food, not looking at Justin, who was wiping her face. The waiter came over to ask if everything was all right. Yes, the food is delicious as always, Tom said flatly. I'll take the check, and the lady will have her food packed to go. All right, sir, the waiter said, leaving to pack Justin's food. A few minutes later, she returned with Justin's remaining food in a foam box. Tom handed his credit card to the waiter and paid while Justin gathered her things. After the waiter left, Justin looked at Tom. Is this it? This is it, Tom said, waving his hand dismissively. She couldn't believe he was dismissing her like this. I'm sorry, Tom. He paused before replying, looking at her. We can agree on that. He said, now, have a good day, say hello to your mother for me, and happy anniversary, he added with a hint of a smile. Justin couldn't believe her husband was so calmly discarding her like trash. She ran from the table, sobbing uncontrollably. Tom smiled and returned to his meal, noticing some diners looking at him with disdain, but he just smiled and shrugged. Outwardly, he might have seemed calm and composed, but inside, he was emotionally wrecked. 5 years of marriage were over, at least the worst part was over now. Epilogue. Tom managed to get through the next few days without incident. It wasn't easy, having once truly loved Justin, making it hard to treat her this way, but he felt it was better than rushing to her side. Then, one day, he heard a knock at the front door. He was in the master bedroom upstairs, looking out the window, seeing Carter's sports car parked in the driveway. He had anticipated this, so he made some adjustments to his home security system on Alpha 1's advice. He went downstairs and opened the door, and sure enough, there was Jack Carter, furious. Tom stepped back, and Carter barged in. "You bastard, you cost me my job, and Justin won't speak to me. I'm going to kill you, you bastard," Jack roared, his face red, until he saw 15 small red dots appear on his shirt. "Emergency storm," a computerized voice shouted from the built-in speaker in the wall. "Do not move." "Don't move?" "What is this?" the intruder shouted, raising his hands as if to bat away the red dots. Suddenly, there was a pop, like the sound of a gas gun going off. As Jack looked down, he saw 15 darts embedded in his body. He reached to pull them out but couldn't, his eyes rolling back as he collapsed to the floor. "I don't think you'll be killing anyone today, Carter," Tom said calmly, picking up the phone and pressing a button, hearing a man's voice. "Operator 715-463, clear channel 15, Tom said. "Clear channel 15, received," the man said. Tom pressed another button, and the system that had just shot the tranquilizer darts retracted into the ceiling. Once the system's door closed, no one could tell there was anything there. Tom smiled in satisfaction, the new security system was working as planned. A few minutes later, an unmarked white van pulled into the driveway, and several men in protective suits entered the house, dragging Jack's limp body out. One man picked up Jack's keys and drove off in his sports car. A few minutes later, both the van and the sports car were gone. Tom closed the door and went about his business. A few days later, Tom was buying a caramel mocha at a local coffee shop when a tall man in a black suit and sunglasses blocked his path on the street. "Alpha One wants to talk to you, Mr. Waters," the man said quietly. "All right," Tom said reluctantly, following the man to a long black limousine parked by the curb. The man opened the rear door, and Tom got in. "Waters, nice to see you out and about," Alpha One said when the door closed. "Yes, sir, I have a lot to do," Tom said. Alpha Odin smiled, placing a friendly hand on Tom's shoulder. "You're very welcome, Tom. When it's just the two of us, you can call me Regis," the one-eyed man said. "I wanted to give you an update on Mr. Carter. He's singing like a canary." "Thank you, Alpha Regis." "So, he's correct?" Tom asked. "Yes, he was right from the start," Regis said, "but now he's really singing like a bird. It seems those tranquilizer darts and the serum we used to extract information turned his brain to applesauce. Now he's swinging in a metal cage, chirping like a bird." Regis pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket and handed it to Tom. "We reached a settlement before he became too incapacitated to sign his name. He was grateful to be alive and agreed to more than you wanted." "That's great," Tom said. "By the way, I want to tell you I'm very impressed with your new system. Given that we got what we needed from Carter, I'm glad you didn't use the .50 caliber machine gun I suggested." "So am I," Tom said. "I recently cleaned the carpet." Regis chuckled at this. "Have you heard from Justin?" Tom asked. "Yes, she's back at work, although Mr. Parker is keeping a tight rein on her." "Have you ever told her who you really work for?" Regis asked. "No, Regis, I never have," Tom said. Regis nodded. He already knew this from his surveillance, but he wanted to hear it from Tom. "Well," Regis said, "when your divorce is finalized, I want you to come to headquarters. I want to introduce you to your new partner." "Partner?" Tom asked. "I never needed a partner before." "Well, there's always a first time, isn't there, Tom?" "Yes, sir, I guess there is," Tom said. "Good," Regis said, "then I look forward to seeing you." "So do I, Regis," Tom said. The car door opened, signaling the end of the meeting. Tom got out, watching as the tall man squeezed into the driver's seat, and the long car merged into traffic. Tom wondered what Regis had in store for him. Thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing, if you haven't already. Feel free to share your thoughts on these events in the comments section. Take care.